Get started. Good morning. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? Do we have anyone that would like to approve?
I'll motion to approve. Second.
Visitor comments?
Dave, you have any?
You need to vote.
Need to vote on the minutes.
Oh, sorry. Do we have vote to approve?
All
All in favor?
abstain.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Do we have any visitor
Dave,
comments?
do you have any, want to say anything? Dick, come on. Go on right here, he's sitting next to me for that one.
My bud. No, just a few things real quick. I know I'm just a drone and I'm not a business owner, but my whole career is in business and I'm very interested in what you guys do. First of all, for 24 years of my career, I was a strategic marketing and new product innovation consultant. I gave advice and ideas to companies that hired us. And it was interesting. I loved your coffee hour. I love being there. And I love Eric and John's presentation. And what hit me afterwards was that there's so much talent, and I've said this before, in this business community, and I don't know how many individual businesses there are in Webster Groves. 50, 100, 500, I don't know, but I bet there's a lot. And it's like, I think sessions like this could be, if Julie came in for one session and said, you know, here are my issues. I need help and input and ideas on how to grow my business. And you all can focus as consultants on helping Julia versus talking about banners and stuff like that. I get it. But it's like, I think you guys can be your own best consultants because you have so much knowledge. That's one. Second of all, relative to sponsorships, I organize 9 community events every year. Some of you know what they are. We don't seek sponsorships. We will never seek sponsorships. They're free events. And on most of them, I don't spend a penny because it's all been my sharing, not spending. But I think some of you know that I had a radio show for a year and a half. We did 75 shows. Eric was one of the guests, runner Eric. And it was great. The radio stations were sold. I stopped doing my show, but we're interested in bringing it back. And so I put out feelers for sponsors because I can't afford it myself. It's too much money to pay for production time every month. Nobody's come forward, so I've killed that idea, which is okay. I'm fine on that. But the point is that I know you guys are hit up every day, every week, every month with sponsorships, whether it's from the school district or from the community, and it's got to drive you crazy. And so I just want to say there's got to be a new idea or solution to how to handle sponsorships in the community that doesn't drive you all nuts. And I think there's a better way to do it. So that's just one. The other thing I learned from Jenny Starkey yesterday was that there are 36 City of the Arts banners that are going to go up. In her email to me, she said they're going to go up in Old Orchard and Old Webster. She didn't mention Crossroads. And Julie, you may want to check it.
We don't have the capacity.
Yeah, which is too bad because there should be banners in the Crossroads districts. But anyway, you know, these banners are going to be different this year, City of the Arts banners, because they're going to put ads, if you will, on each banner for a different.
Hey, Dave, you've got 3 minutes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thanks, Dave. I do want to just
Yeah,
finish
man.
the comments up there. Go ahead, finish the comment.
No, I'm done.
Right, I wanted to highlight for Old Webster, Old Orchard. They go in the current place where City of the Arts banners are, so they're not replacing the district bought banners, but like, so right out here on the intersection, we have City of the Arts ones, that's where they're going.
Okay.
Thanks, Dave.
What's the ad going on the bottom one?
So the program is through called CGI Digital, and actually the business community will get that letter, should be in the mail Monday or Tuesday. The city authorizes program, so the city pays nothing for the banners. that company buys the banners and they sell ads to businesses around the community to go on the banners. So it's an authorized program. It happens, it's an endorsed program through the National League of Cities, but it happens in cities all across America. So you get the full banner like it is, and then there's bottom third is your business name and such like that. It's also a way to draw in, not just having currently right now, if you look at business licenses, certainly pay in property taxes, but how do you involve the non-retail side, non-sales tax bearing side, service industries into that program as well? And offer them opportunities and also share the support of that program across the entire.
Okay, next on to old business. First thing is the business coffee feedback. Did we get any other submissions aside from the one that you forwarded?
Just that one.
Okay,
So I welcome all your feedback. I think I've heard people talk about feedback, but I have nothing in writing other than that one email. So.
okay.
I got some just informal, everybody that I've talked to was like, I'm definitely interested in that and interested in hearing more, for sure. There was also somebody who requested, they're like, can I get like a copy of that presentation or something? Because they weren't able to attend. If there's a way that, I don't know, if we have it, so we can just forward it to people, that would be, I think, helpful. Or if we want to talk about,
Yes, no, I thought we posted, it, but I
Oh,
definitely,
did we?
well, I thought we did.
okay, it's okay. I mean, I could,
Sometimes in my mind, we did things and then I find out, oh, we didn't get that second step done. So, let me check, but we definitely have the presentation, so I can send it out.
Okay.
It wasn't recorded.
I tried to
Yeah.
kind of look and I kind of pointed them to that recorded meeting of when you showed us
Right.
originally. But I don't know if in general, we want to come up with some type of like packet that we could be giving to people or a digital packet. I don't know.
Or what would be the next step? So if people are interested in learning more, what are the next steps?
So I think the next steps, and I'll welcome Councilmember Bliss's comments as well. One of the things I didn't say in that is usually a CID really comes about out of the capital need that's identified, okay? It's rare that you get a CID that gets created. We want marketing dollars, right? It's really tough to convince the segment of that community to say, let's tax ourselves for that. So there's often a streetscape or it's a major anchor store coming, and so we need to accentuate parking or deal with some capital issue that brings that upon. So there's usually an anchor idea, let me call it that anchor idea of why we need this function to exist. Doesn't have to be something new. It could just be we need to fix some things or accentuate some of the things we have in the district and such. So
what is the city's idea?
so I want to be very clear that this is not driven by the city's idea. This conversation came from the commission here. The city has not said we need to create a CID or such. This is bubbling up from you to become a recommendation to the city is how we have operated as the staff and and with the council's conversation as well. Right. So I think the next steps in some ways are, what are those real needs, right? Outside of which locality and stuff, but what are the real needs that we're trying to fund out of that? And I think that's still a conversation here in some ways. What have we heard? Who's the audience, right? Is this to accentuate retail? Is this to become a dying district in some way? Is this to just market places or give structure to a place that doesn't have a current district, or to move in other districts over the top of the other districts? I think that's still a conversation here to identify some of those steps that gives more meat, gives more bone to put the meat on about where do we go next and how do we engage with that community? Because it's certainly if we go out to the business and say, we think about this idea, but what for? Right? What's the purpose of raising the tax rate or such to create this district?
Everybody I've talked to, and it is primarily retail and restaurants, have said they want for marketing. So I don't know.
Well, I could see though, like we also talk about how physically distanced, some of the distance areas are. And coming up with ways to create linking things, so one thing that stands out to me is the 4th of July celebration that's now at Eden. Like, is that location has the ability to kind of link some of the business areas? I don't know if there's potential there. I know they were trying to sell some stuff at one point, but or rent or whatever.
And I don't know Eden's situation. It's certainly a private property in that regard, but it does, in terms of event space, it does link other areas outside the 3 districts now. You're transiting across and such. you talk about marketing, it doesn't have to be limited to the digital world or buying ads and such. I mean, you can be talking about streetscape signage, right? I mean, you look at signage issues that we have had in the past. I mean, we haven't been really touched and refreshed since they were first installed. Those are the kinds of things that oftentimes CIDs get involved in. You think of the Grove, and I use this example, but like that big over Manchester where it says the Grove. That's the kind of thing a CID and sort of districts help bring about, you know, that identity of space or of district or of idea or concept in many regards, so.
And CIDs can do events, whereas like the city,
Absolutely.
it's kind of like.
Well, the city can do events, and we certainly do, but we're not really built to do events, right? I mean, in reality, like the great things that happen in Old Webster, the trade association's really putting it on. The city's just moving money, you know, from the district to the trade association. Old Orchard, much the same way. We've helped out in some regards with the city staff more because they're sort of reforming the Merchants Association, I think it's called. Crossroads, you have handled that. But the city's not an event planner in a great way. I mean, really our big event is July 4th. Now, we can step into that space, but that's not something we're really equipped to become a great big event. So.
Could the CID be used for something like pedestrian, like improvements or like that kind of
Parking
thing?
or things like that.
All that. Mainly, if we call it infrastructure, it could be used for that.
Can you make it be for multiple things or just?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But I think the key is when you're identifying, remember the businesses that your property owners are gonna have to agree
Right.
at least 50% in that district.
Mhm.
You're still gonna have to explain the what for. Even if they're not paying the tax, if it's on a sales tax rate increase, why am I increasing the cost to my customer? Potentially driving some of them away. What are we gonna get out of that hopefully increases my return?
That's something that I was thinking about and I was gonna bring up and ask about. Do you think it's a challenge to get the property owners buy-in with that? Since a lot of the business owners aren't necessarily the property owners in
Yeah,
Webster.
I don't, generally, if it's a good idea and you have an identified need, I'm gonna use Old Orchard as an example, right? If, right now, there's places in Old Orchard that aren't in the district. So let's say we want to go past Novel Neighbor and you look down to the AM Clark, and then you go further down to Dairy Queen. If you identify the streetscape, that might be a really thing that really identifies, how do we connect a pedestrian corridor and make more continuity? If you just simply said we want to, you know, increase our Facebook ads, I don't know what that buy-in is.
Sure.
Where it really becomes tricky with property owners is when you add the property tax component. Because that's now, while it's passed on certainly, but now that is a direct bill to them. They are paying property taxes if you're gonna use that also in the base. Same comes with a special assessment, okay? A special assessment goes against the property. So if you wanted to say, let's bury the power lines like happened in Old Webster many years ago, a special assessment, that is property owner issue. That's not a easy way to, that's why most SIDs end up in a sales tax, because it's from a business
Makes
owner's
sense.
perspective, it's passing through. Stacy, do you hear any, we're talking feedback and such, and that's trade association and Old Webster and.
I mean, I was not at a point where I could talk about it to the trade association. I just dropped a line about it, about, you know, if anybody went, please speak on it. Cause I missed it. I mean, Graham, what do you think?
Mary Martin.
Yeah, Mary Martin was very excited about it.
No, she was very disappointed.
Oh, I mean, she was very excited that we're meeting. And-
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and excited about the SID
But
and all the
she-
information
She
got.
compared the
Yeah.
first one to the last one. She was expecting the second one to be like the first one. And the people that she wanted to network with weren't there. Which is true. It was a different audience.
It was.
Explain with the
You're
coffee.
referring to one meeting versus another
The
meeting.
two
Yeah.
copies, as far as copy feedback.
But she was excited about what the information she received from the meeting.
But she didn't like the format of the meeting, maybe.
The networking we gave, you had networking in the beginning.
Yeah.
But the people that she wanted to network with, and she was expecting it to be the same audience as the first business copy, they weren't there. This, it was a different.
It was a different group of
different
people,
audience.
and a lot of-
It was a
for the
completely
most
different
part.
audience.
Yeah.
Which is good in a way, but.
I wonder if you'd be willing to help pass the word around that time we have a coffee, so. you're kind
And
of-
yeah, I personally was a little confused by the comment, which is, I know, but.
And one of our officers, her comment was, she evidently, we didn't do a good job of telling them why she needed to come to this one.
I
What was the
texted her
benefit?
personally with all the information about it. I did ask her.
Before or after?
Before the
her
meeting,
comment.
I sent out an
I'm just
entire,
telling you what she
yeah.
said.
yeah, so it was,
The drama.
I think there is like an undertone that we keep learning, like, we need to keep spreading the word, like, we
Yeah.
think it's enough to just like drop off this and send an email, and it's like, we really gotta get out there, if we want people to come. And I know people did, and I think, but it just shows that every effort really makes a difference.
Yes, well, and also it was Lisa from Never Enough that was talking about the communication. She's in the middle of a move right now,
She is.
so she has a lot going on.
So it's even more important that if you really, really wanted her there, then we need to tell her why she needs to stop doing this to do that.
There is some self-agency for people too, if you wanna be involved, you kind of have to pay attention. But
Well, I was wondering if like in this new Blue Dot program, since all of the input and the contact information is in there, is it possible to do things like a newsletter or, like maybe
like
we
a
could
bulletin
do like,
board type thing, like. It's all
or,
there.
yeah, or something where it goes
Yes.
straight to people.
Yes, well, it goes straight to whoever they list as the contact, so I mean,
Yeah.
that's an important piece, and this goes back to open rate though, I mean, you go back to whether through emails or other things, you're gonna get 30 to 40% open rate, we get that at the city, so I mean, a lot of businesses get the email and they never even look at it.
I will say, like, most of all of Brand's emails, they all go to my spam. So I always have to like find them in my spam and put them into my regular inbox, but like also. I didn't know, like, did the text message or email go out to all the business owners like before the coffee?
I got it, I got
That's
the
good.
email, yeah.
That's good.
So
I
you-
didn't get a text message from the city.
Well, you may have not been entered when you entered your business directory stuff under the old system, you may not have had a cell phone listed to that, so you.
Yeah.
So you're only
yeah, the
getting those
landline,
out of the-
yeah.
Yeah,
Right, so if you enter your landline, you're not gonna be in that text, that's part of the dynamicism of using the new system,
Yeah,
right? So
interesting.
when whatever you wrote on paper got typed in and then that got translated to the newsletter.
so the text I sent out like to individuals was, please come to this. The city made an interactive map that's gonna benefit us in multiple ways from events to hiring. It's also gonna be useful for our QR codes and a quick intro to the CID. And then I gave this, and I sent that to almost every single business owner in Old Webster.
Yeah.
So I don't know what else. I mean, it's for my personal.
Sure.
I think it's also something where, you have to build it over time.
Yeah,
But that
for sure.
people are gonna be engaged with it and want to watch for it and like, well,
Yes.
And not everybody's gonna be happy all the time.
Yeah, you can't waste it, but.
But it is key, I think, and I don't wanna dismiss both Mary's comments, but also the other comments as well, but there is. What's the topic and who's the audience, right? Because you're not gonna get restaurants that show up all the time, or you're not gonna get retail interested all the time. But how do you tie all these topics to some semblance of relevance, right? And it's tough to explain to Sid, especially when you're in the very infancy, right? Why does this matter to a jeweler and to a pizza place and to an insurance agent and to a person who build houses, right? Why does that matter to many different sectors at the same time? Mike was there because he has to be, so that's why it matters to insurance.
Maybe if we give out more examples, like I think that. Like explaining that the signage over the grove is from a CID. That would pique my interest as a business owner, like, oh, that would be really. cool
yeah,
to
if
have
we had
something
any,
like that.
any case studies of
Yeah.
like neighborhoods or like really neat places that did that and how it improved.
So are we still trying, what is the ultimate goal of the CID at this point?
We're still defining
We're
it.
still- yeah.
Okay.
We just talked about that before you got.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's right.
Yeah.
You need for the same time.
Well, what if like the next step is like having another coffee where maybe there's more heads up for the business owners and like show them case studies of what other people have done and ask for ideas from everyone. Like a post-it, kind of thing, put your ideas on the board.
Or would it be easier to send it as an email so that you can like link to the different neighborhoods
smart,
and
yeah.
things,
Mhm.
and they can,
Do their own.
because sometimes the best time to read your emails is midnight.
Yeah.
Or 7 AM before you come to the meeting.
Right.
Or, a Survey Monkey or something like that, to have people like
Survey Monkey.
give us feedback.
Yeah.
We've done that before.
Was the
And had
destination
decent turnout.
WG survey, like, was that successful?
Oh, yeah, yes, I mean, there's varying levels of degrees of success, right, with surveying, right, but it's, yes, yeah, I mean, it gives you a semblance of some semblance of engagement and, or input and such. I do want to step back before, I think there's a question about where we go with the SID and what's the next coffee.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, they're still separate entities in my mind, right, I mean, because we have not well defined and you've starting to think about August is really right now, right, because really by June, and really by middle May, that's all gotta be sort of pulled together if we're gonna have a really effective outreach. So it's, we've gotta have, where are we going next in that regard? Is it on that path, which is fine? And then I think we would have a meeting like this every week where we do this, and it's really like, from my mind, who's that subcommittee or the group that's really gonna take the SID and go, what are our next steps? And put all that to paper and move forward on it. If that is what you're gonna recommend ultimately that we look at doing, if that's where your goal is to go. There's other things as well, right? I mean, we added the blue dot to the coffee update. All these other things that we're doing and talking about, so. Is it too much when we keep adding all those things, right, to the agendas and such, and how do we provide relevance, but also the full range of information to folks? I don't have the answer for all that, I'm just putting that all on the table.
Yeah, I
Try
do
to focus on-
enjoy the networking side of it too, with the coffee and just getting out there and seeing everybody. I think if we keep one or two topics to the coffee and then just let people talk, give feedback to each other and just visit with each other, I think it's beneficial. Yeah, it's a little bit about best of both worlds.
Is there any interest or benefit to an after hours networking? And
Could do it differently.
We've done after hours networking within the trade before and 2 people show up.
It just gets hard with various
With kids
conflicts.
stuff and, yeah.
I mean, I know most of the business owners I work with want to meet during business hours, not after,
The other just connection I will say is, I think a lot of the outreach that you saw folks that are not sort of in our normal circles across the business districts at this event and such. A lot of that went to the chamber, and I think there's, obviously this is built into this commission to have Bud or the chamber's seat on the commission, but there's still a partner. They have a new director now. There's a partnership there. It's a whole segment of the business community that's not normally connected to City Hall and the operations that the city's injecting in the business community. Far more service oriented or service industry folks. In some regards, so there's an exploration there as well, not saying it's money or such, but how do we partner in a way that sort of brings that segment in as well to the conversations that we don't normally talk with. Edward Jones people, they come and they file their business license with us once a year. That's what they do at the city, right? They're not in these conversations about how do we create foot traffic and marketing and all that kind of stuff, but they're at the chamber lunches every month. You know what I mean? It's a whole world of our business community that exists and organizes itself around another entity, so.
so we have a coffee committee that organizes that. Should we have a subcommittee to look into CID and like how to educate and reach out or communicate or?
I think it needs that, but who wants to?
Well,
Here.
and who's bought into the SID too? Is it just the BBC? I mean, who else in the city is interested in the SID coming?
Yeah.
in?
Is the
I mean, is
chamber
it just
already
us?
looking at
Because
it?
it doesn't need to be just members of the BBC on the committee, correct?
Correct, no.
Like you could reach out to Betty from Betty's Books, she was.
Yeah.
Emailed that she was
Yeah.
interested.
So I don't think anyone has really bought into the SID because we're the only group here that's been talking about
Oh,
it,
okay,
right?
yeah.
So I think really, if it all falls apart, some group's gonna have to dedicate time to really put the shoulder in and develop that first step, those first couple steps, right? If it's ever gonna have a chance, that's what happens, right? And if it all falls apart, we have to be prepared for that evidentiality and, for that outcome. And it is not sunken time, it's not wasted time, it was beneficial in some way. But if it's gonna succeed, it needs that. Who are the champions that are going to lift it up? And really, at some point, even before as we're talking to businesses about need, but before you get into the formal process, then really come to BDC and a conversation with the council about this is the step we want to take, because it functionally is a new political subdivision being created. And that's gonna take the council's input as well and understanding the relationship between the city and that new entity that is created, so. So there's some steps before we ever get to, let's go sell it, and make sure we get this across the line, that needs that sort of champion circle.
I guess my question is, can this be its own commission?
Well, I think
It
we're not
sounds like
even
you're-
close to that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still like, so like, nobody really knows what it is. We're still trying to see what that looks like.
When it is created, it will. Be.
Yeah, that's what you were saying.
When it
is that
is
they don't-
created, it is required, so,
Yeah.
but in terms of the organizing, there's always, it's just like a campaign, there's a little campaign committee essentially, I call it that, I call it the champion circle, but there's this group that's really pushing that we need this for what purpose, right? They become the champions to go sell it and to recommend it and such like that. I don't know, I don't want to speak for the council member, I don't know that creating another commission in the city ahead of creating it, just to simply be that is, I think that's really what this group's about, right? You know, and how do we do that? At some point, you put enough skeleton there and enough meat on those bones to come to council and say, okay, are you even willing to consider this, council, right? And then I keep pointing at you, Pam, because it's not just Pam, it's many, but it's really, I mean, because that's your first real step, right? If council's not gonna go down this road, okay, then we go back, right? And how do we retool or whatever? But if council is, then it really becomes an earnest effort, right? So.
I love the acknowledgement. So, yeah, thanks, but, and I always have an opinion, but I
Go
will
ahead.
wait.
I think our opinions would be good. I mean, this has got some council interactions as well, so.
Well, I mean, we do have a lot of initiatives going on right now, so we would have to make this one, if you guys are behind it, something that would rise to the top. And just as far as, you know, we have to remember that Webster is unique because we have these three separate places and we have to tie everybody together, including the two outlying business areas. So I think a unique solution would be appropriate. Maybe it's about making, instead of just labeling places, we make places a little bit more vibrant. And then the connectivity would become more essential. So I guess that's just kind of like the basic rationale that I'm coming from right now is how do we make this different and really important? And how does it really solve the unique problem that is here? So, and I think that's one good thing about having a way to brainstorm together would be good. I mean, they have these things called charrettes, which designers and other stakeholders come together and sit and draw and think of ideas over the period of 1 day or 2 days or so, you know, so it could be something, I mean, you could get really big with it. It just depends on funding and how far you're really willing to go out there on the branch to try something ideal.
It's actually a great coffee to have a charrette, like if, should we go
Yeah.
that far down the road? Where people are contributing like thoughts on how, what the.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, so it takes a lot of organization to do that, maybe
Yeah.
beyond the coffee, but that's kind of what I'm thinking in my own head.
Agree with all of that. A charrette's a big, but it is a big function. It's bigger than the coffee. It's often,
Yeah,
it's a multiple tables, you know, you see that often. We're gonna see that in this community in the comprehensive plan, right? You know, I mean,
Mhm.
those meetings where you're coming in and it's literally, here's a blank map, you know. In the future, what goes here, what goes there, I mean, those types of ideas. There's some immediate needs that I can see as staff. I look at the entirety of the southern border. The city invests
Yeah.
not $1 along Lawson.
mhm.
Now, the state's gonna fix that road and put in new sidewalks and pedestrian improvements, but there is nothing, 28% of the sales tax comes from the bank by Dobbs Tire all the way over to Grant Road in the city.
Mhm.
And nothing is invested in that corridor at all. That's understandable, that's a great streetscape. There's no marker of entry. There's tiny little signs.
I don't think a lot of people even know that it's Webster. I mean, people that live here probably do, but I
Yeah.
mean, if you just had somebody driving through St. Louis, it's not defined.
Exactly, right? They think it's Crestwood. It doesn't look like Webster, right?
Yep.
This has got a whole different look here than we have down there. And the whole improvement there that is ripe in a way for some investment. Certainly, as you look then farther, I mean, what do we do in Zeta Dell? You've got these pockets of commercial activity when you go up to North Webster and the Venice Sports Dome, and the whole area that is in the industrial park there. Morphine, you've got more retail happening there than I think was ever intended when they made it an industrial park way back in the day. So you've got those areas. How do you involve them in such, and what do they need, right? There's different needs in all those places. There's not, you know, what Yorkshire needs and that whole area in Watson is probably gonna be different than what Zeta Dell needs in other places across town.
So what if our goal before trying to do the CID thing is like, how do we get word out to all the business owners, you know, do we make a newsletter or a presentation or something that goes out on Blue Dot? You know,
I think kind of like your point, Eric, I think you need, champions from all those different areas. I know, they're not technically business districts, but you need somebody here from Yorkshire that says, here's what we would like. I mean, I don't
Do
think
they
we get buying
care?
if we just define it for them.
Do they care?
I don't know if they do.
All the years I've sat
Okay.
in this town, I've never heard or seen anybody appear at from any of those.
We did have a Yorkshire rep.
Yeah,
on
one,
the
we did one time.
BBC.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
we were
For a
out
while.
together.
Yeah.
So we still have quite a bit to work through today on the agenda. Is there anything that we can identify to try and like bring together before the next meeting?
They're all gonna be, I think, if I were to give you a staff recommendation, I think if you can identify amongst this group, who's your, I'll call it a subcommittee, whatever you wanna call it, right?
Yeah.
And I think it would be helpful to have a focused conversation about, okay, what are the next steps that we need to start to identify, right? Are we driving towards the August coffee, but also how do we drive towards potentially doing this or making a recommendation to council? So, I don't think it takes a long meeting, but sort of a subcommittee to really set those set of questions to help an agenda topic next meeting, be fruitful.
I'm happy to volunteer my time to go into the subcommittee to look at CID. I would like to request that I get removed from the coffee subcommittee then, so I could maybe focus on that. I mean, I could still be in the chat, obviously. And then I would just. Could we have, I would like people who are smarter than me, there, so maybe a council member or.
We're happy to attend, yes. So I think it's, no criticism of the coffee subcommittee, but really we're looking, this is one of the points, we need you all to do that work, right? We'll be there to advise, but we need and help you formulate it, but we need that work to be done.
And then can I reach out to people who are not on? the
Subcommittee
meeting,
does
be on
not
the-
need to be on BBC, right? So if
So
there's,
I'm gonna pull together a group with anybody's recommendations of who you think I should reach out to
if this
start
group,
chatting
if
about.
this group
the
is fine with it, yes, you can, so.
Then play Adele.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, great.
Take your place at the coffee, so. Yes. I'll fill that void, no problem.
Okay, great. Are we ready to move on to the next topic then?
So then I just wanna make sure I didn't miss it. I've got 2 people are on the CID subcommittee and 1 person is on the coffee.
No, both Erics?
But Eric did not confirm that he's staying on it, so.
Staying on the
Eric,
course.
you wanna keep doing the coffee?
Or anybody-
drinking coffee.
All right, let's knock it out.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
And then I'm just, everyone's good with, we're gonna add some non-BBC members potentially
Yeah,
at some
that's
point.
great.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's.
I think
I
that's.
just wanna make sure we were all clear
Figure it
about
out.
that.
To then get the words spread.
Going
Yeah.
along with that, are you off for the coffee?
No, I'll sit on the coffee too.
I just wanna make sure
And
I,
it'll kind of be a
get it
link
right.
then
Yeah.
between like what's going on and.
all right, got it.
All right, great. So next we're on to shop local initiatives. The other day, Pam and I met with Elizabeth Brennan from STL Made. Was a really great conversation. It was like, we wanted to dig in a little bit deeper to ask some questions that you all might have about the Love Local campaign. So she gave us a little bit more of the merch, the assets. And so so we wanted to find out a little bit about like where the funding comes from, what started the whole thing. Are any of you familiar with Greater St. Louis? Inc?
Yeah.
It's a group of large businesses, stakeholders in the St. Louis region that came together and put a lot of funding together to, like, for example, Edward Jones, I think, was one of the companies that she mentioned to try and tell the stories and create a vibrant area for people that are moving here and working here and things like that. So her role is in communication on the STL Made side, and that's the mission of that, she said, is to celebrate the people, the institutions, business organizations and nonprofits that make St. Louis a great place to live and work. So she's on the communication side of it. And so where they get their funding from is those large corporations. They, it's free to all of the independent businesses around town. They've been doing it for years. So they're starting to see some things where they're getting good traction and things that weren't quite hitting their goals or their marks. One of the big ones they're gonna do this year is the 314 Day. They're putting a lot of money into that. So if people wanna, they've got a calendar you can add things to. There, you can use hashtags, tag them, you know, they'll try to share and do stories and things like that around town. So let's see. In my notes here. The other things that they do, so they do three things, there's three things they're gonna do this year. 314 Day, they're gonna do a neighborhood crawl. She didn't have the dates, but it's gonna be like sometime in April or May. And then they do a big holiday push. So it was interesting to see all of the things they have. All these things are, they've got these available that you can get. You can download the files online. We were gonna, she didn't give me yet the name of the printer that they used. To see if we wanted to add any line items in our budget. To make these available for Webster businesses at no cost. Let's see. Oh, another thing that was really neat. So a question that we asked was, do you have any places that you've worked with where it's like a city or a municipality or a region like Webster, where all of these businesses kind of came together, you know, and are trying to lift up with this program? And she said that they don't. But she would be happy if we'd like to be a case study where we kind of get some, just amplify each other and, you know, get it going. I suggested that if, you know, she was talking about other areas that they may be able to support small businesses in the region. My suggestion was to kind of fill in some of those gaps. So if they do the crawl, the neighborhood crawl in April, May, and don't do anything to the holidays, there's like a summer and autumn kind of things, so that we get more of the shop local initiative going year round instead of just a strong holiday push. So those were my takeaways from the meeting. Did you have any that you wanted to add things?
Well, yeah, essentially, you know, they started as an economic development organization, and you know, they've attracted big business to town, and now they are focusing on small business because they understand small business is vital to any metropolitan area and how important small business is. It's, you know, there's a lot of inclusivity with small business, and so she was really there to kind of just say whatever, if we, as you know, Webster Groves Business Development Commission wanted to come up with as an event and seek their support, they would support it. They have the assets, which are window clings and posters and stickers. They even have, we could get a kind of a big sticker for photo ops, and it would say something about love local Webster Groves, that kind of thing that would come from them. We could use that for social or whatever else. So yeah, we determined that, you know, 314 days a little too soon, but this neighborhood crawl, which will be region wide, they cover 15 counties in Missouri and Illinois, that we could organize an event and kind of participate across the board, be one participating among all these other entities. And that's it. So yeah, we were thinking as far as just budgeting, maybe trying to get a budget, and maybe BDC could support that, get the assets together and make those available for businesses. Other ways was maybe include them in the in the regional economic outlook breakfast, they do one of those again, which is solely focused on small business. So yeah, she was, they have a lot of ground to cover, so I think it's not necessarily them reaching out to us, but us reaching back to them and saying, we're doing these things, can you get the word out, or we need your support. I think they would show up if we needed, anything for that. That could be potentially an event where we have them involved, so
Thought you had
very
really,
supportive.
you had a neat idea, which was, that the BDC could maybe get a table at the economic
Mhm.
summit, and put that in the budget so that business owners could attend and kind of, a little bit, see what's going on regionally.
Yeah, I mean, that event really galvanized, personally, my yay, St. Louis, yay, Webster Groves, I just ran into so many people from years ago and from even like yesterday in my career, that it was just great to see so many people coming together and making connections. And I think, everyone left the room pretty excited.
Bud was there. What did you think?
Yeah.
Man of many words.
It really is interesting to hear so many different views about the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we need to get on their calendar, right? What we're saying.
So, there's a lot of independent local businesses that have some ideas for 314 Day already. So just getting the word out so that they know that Love Local is gonna be making this hard push. You may as well see if you can get some momentum going, and up your algorithms or whatever. On those things, and then we can look towards, maybe trying to organize everybody more intentionally. For the neighborhood crawl, and if we come up with something that we want to do in the summer, we could definitely, mention it to them. They may add it into their repertoire.
What
And
about
kind
the 4th of July?
Yeah.
We already
Well,
have,
so many neighborhoods have that.
yeah, but Webster's is like
We're
legendary.
known for 4th of July,
That's like
right?
people come to Webster for 4th of July.
Does bring a lot of people into that.
Because they have 13 events for 314 Day already on their calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're kind of a little short of time.
Yeah,
on that
but it's great. I
for
mean,
next year.
Yeah, for sure.
And I did see something in the RFT last night that they're saying this is the biggest
Yeah.
314 Day event ever, so
Well, and
even just doing a little bit,
Yeah.
But
maybe
I-
some social.
I do think that the 4th of July, since moving from Mossfield to Eden, there has been some
And get-
confusion because
you can get one
people
of those
used to
big-
always come in, would always go to Mossfield.
Local.
And now it's like in a totally different part of town, it's like you could almost retell people like, hey, this parade, or like, the carnival's even better now that it's not on
Now we can
Mossfield.
walk.
It's beautiful, it's shady, you can hang out during the day, it's awesome. But yeah, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I just think like individually, if we just all kind of start adding events to their calendar and they'll put it and they'll push it,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
just like, it has to be like grassroots like that, we just kind of have to show up and do it.
Yeah.
And I don't know who would be responsible for adding 4th of July, but I think it, if we just
Yeah.
type in, add a little 4th of July and they'll put it on their calendar, it's not.
Did you have any updates that you wanted to add to shop? Okay,
No, not yet.
okay.
One more question about this, is it new that they're like including all these other counties? I feel like my experience, just as like a consumer of the STL made stuff, is it's very like in the city of St. Louis.
We did ask.
Well, Greater St. Louis Inc., like I said, is for economic development of the entire region, and so they define the region by the 15 counties.
Okay.
That's Greater St. Louis Inc. And then STL Made is more about like the specific stories about St. Louis and
Right.
storytelling about that, so.
But not just the city, also the county. We did
Right.
ask.
Yes.
We did ask.
So just St. Louis City and St. Louis County, not like Madison County or like
Well, I mean, I
Breeze,
think
Illinois.
somebody in St. Charles could definitely,
Yeah.
they would not say you can't use our
Yeah.
Love Local stuff.
Yeah,
So I think it is, it's, the lines are blurred.
yeah.
Parochial.
Well, I think-
And they should be.
I think those are
Yes.
parochial lines we're thinking of, right? I mean, we think
Right.
of, okay, St. Charles is not St. Louis, but it's in reality, this whole region exists because
Yeah.
it was a big city founded on the Mississippi, that we call
Uh-huh.
St. Louis, right? So greater St. Louis, you get 15 counties are pumping in. There's gonna be projects branded around St. Louis. Sometimes our divide suburbs between the city, we end up in that,
Yeah.
you know. We're not St. Louis, but we exist because of that, the fact that the city was founded.
Mhm. The other thing that she talked about, well, that was at the regional breakfast, which was really awesome, was the counterpart executive director of Freedom St. Louis Inc. from Pittsburgh came, and she's been working on this for 20 years, and so it was amazing just to hear how they pull people together, you know, because they are very similar to us as far as age of town, industries, et cetera. Even more divided by their rivers and bridges, but it was just very cool to hear about Pittsburgh and the mindset. It's a
And the
little more
change-
progressive
I
and
mean,
it
and the
changes.
change, I mean, the
Yeah,
massive change when you go to Pittsburgh, that went from a steel town,
yeah.
you know, to how do we rebrand? How do we find something different, right? And St. Louis is there, geospatial now. How does that really become the anchor to what's new in St. Louis? What are we becoming the hub of?
Yeah,
Pittsburgh is cool.
Yeah, because geospatial is involved heavily over in Coquia Mountains.
Right.
And that's Illinois.
mhm.
Cool.
So on that, on job local, in terms of the city, if there are things that we want to send out for 314, you know, a message or such.
Yeah,
Whoever, we're looking at developing or whatever we want in that message, and we can help send that out through the systems and get that out. And other things like that, or if you have other issues, I mean. we're
on
helping
the
with that.
card there, I think they had some social posts.
Okay.
Baked into their program. It says, it just says that they have them available. Bottom left. And they talk about social media.
Well, it says like.
Are you
There's
like, you
different
mean like some
graphics
hashtags
available.
or something?
Yeah, I just thought it said it gave you language for
Template, they had
social.
them last year,
Um,
so I would
Yeah,
assume they would
yeah.
have them this year.
Post copy, one static graphic and post copy. They have a general.
Oh, yes, they
General.
do, on their
Yeah,
site,
yeah.
I was looking at their site last night, and they do, where you can just like cut and paste.
Cut and
Yeah.
paste and do your own little.
Yeah, so the other thing from
It
here that
was
they don't mention
extensive
is like
stuff
the
was
big,
available for last year, so I'm
Yeah.
assuming.
yeah, photo props. She talked about photo props.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So, yeah, they're doing a good job, it's nice.
Well, it seems silly to not like piggyback off some of their
Yeah.
resources.
Right.
No, for sure.
Okay. The next item is, was there anything else on that, did we wanna? So if we were going to try and push information to the city, would we just do it like on the city's calendar and then they could do something from that was lab local?
So we have the event calendar that exists on Explore Webster
Yeah.
Groves. You can all access that at any point. Green Door Gallery does multiple events on there.
Mm-hmm.
I get one 3 times a week, so, you all can do that at any point. What I was getting at is if you have things that you want to say to the business community, plan for 314 day, here's some resources,
Okay.
put that together
More to
for
push
me.
it out.
Exactly,
Yeah,
push it
I
out.
think we should,
Yeah.
just to let them know
And the
that.
city has a 314 plan, I mean, from just the city side, you know,
Yeah.
celebrating 314 on socials and things like that, but it's. You know, if you want to get that out broader into the community and business meeting, we're happy to help disseminate that.
So more than the
Can we
Friday
do that
page, right?
More than the Friday
Okay.
page, yeah, I mean, like it's specific to the business
Okay.
community, much like
Yeah.
business coffee, you know, dedicated.
Why wouldn't we spread the word so that everybody can try to benefit from it?
Makes sense. Seems easy.
Can we do
There-
that too?
Well, we do, so I do, what I'm looking at is, don't just say, okay, Eric, go do that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Put some text there, of what you want me to say and such, so that we get it out in that way.
Okay.
Otherwise, I spend an
When-
hour like, okay, be creative, Eric, what do we need to say? Me and Jenny are like, what do we talk about?
Do you need somebody to like send you an email to
I-
explain like?
I know what it is, but I'm saying like what you wanna say to, you're the business people, right?
Right, yeah.
What's the message that you wanna say to your fellow business people about using that, right?
Your
You know,
words.
your words, right? I mean, and why it's important, right? I mean, I can see why it's important for me, but I have a different
You can
motivation
probably
than you.
adapt one of their messages
Yeah.
too.
I can draft that up if you wanna approve it.
Yeah.
Okay, or just, or everybody wants to.
Well, because they
Copy
said that
paste.
the 2 weeks leading up to 314 days, so like starting, you know.
Starting Monday. Yeah. Look at it up.
You have so much information, I don't know if you want to, I feel like you're taking on so much.
Yes, and words don't always come well to me like
Okay.
in that, so yes.
I will do it.
Yeah.
And then I will have you. Susie.
Oh, Yeah,
Then we'll
that
pass
that
it.
looks right,
Okay.
Okay,
Julia, how do you run your business? I mean.
why?
Because you gotta do a lot for this, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and she's on another commission,
Yeah.
not the
Yeah,
only
she's like
commission.
famous on Instagram too, you guys.
But I'm not on the coffee commission.
Took that out of the plate.
They dropped a really big one there.
Yes.
Okay, great.
So the big
For the
driver
budget
is-
request, is there a when is the deadline?
Deadline is March 8th,
March 8th.
so you don't have another meeting before then, so
We double what we did last year.
you make it. You can tell me whatever number you want to request. I think that the deal of a request is what is the use, right? I mean, you can put in a number. If it has no, this is what we want to use it for, I can tell you how that's gonna go with the city manager, much less get to the city council and be like, they want $100,000 for, just like CID,
Okay.
for.
But so the new items would be the table at the economic development.
Yep.
Right?
That's gonna be $1,000.
Okay.
I'm just guessing.
We can look and see what the last price.
I mean,
was
it's,
for last
yeah,
year.
you can put $1,000 in, I mean, we'll,
Okay.
we'll be able to massage those as we go in, but that's the function, you know, if you want a table for that event.
How much
Really,
of that has been used?
a good chunk of it's been used, so I mean, you've got the 25,000 for micro grant dining, the green dining
Yeah.
program is encumbered, so that will, you don't have to worry about that for next year, that money will be there and just be reappropriated. And then you've got the, what was the other function for them, we have the, why can't I think of it?
Marketing.
Marketing has gone through, so that the marketing money has been used throughout the Christmas season and such like that. And then the plan for all the rest of the year as the districts kick in.
And then we have like
The outside
$1,000.
agency. Yeah.
So would we need to, if we're talking about trying to do something. and
You're gonna need,
potentially-
put it this way, the city has put little money in, right? I mean, we put probably $30,000 in over the years for marketing stuff. If this is going to add to that, not change it and become that, you're gonna need new money.
Right.
Okay, so you don't have to be exact on, you pick a number, right? Because in some ways you don't know. You have really no way to estimate exactly what you're gonna need this year. If you have other programs, if you want to have money set aside for, who's gonna print all the QR codes for the Blue Dot things, right? Where's that money coming from, that collateral printing? If you want us to provide those things for free to businesses, that money's not in the budget right now. Print a bunch of vinyl clingings and things like that, and, you know, signs. Right.
With Jenny leaving,
Mhm.
how is that gonna affect?
So there.
That was, we're like, what? Jenny's leaving?
Yes, yes. Jenny's last day is tomorrow. She's accepted a new position, so there will be a Jenny recruited, right? There will be somebody recruited into that role. It's me for the month, well, it takes for everything, so we're all taking on new things, but, there will be a replacement, so that, you don't have
Okay,
to worry
if we
about.
can like dissolve that.
No,
Or good,
no.
okay.
There is, I mean, as with any position, that when it comes open, you look at it, what are the operational needs, the tactical needs, has the position changed at all? But communications and that world in public engagement is a fundamental core value for the city, and so that's gonna continue in that regard. So you don't have to worry about that.
So, could this be done via email? We just like type up like these different line items, send out some numbers around and everybody approves it? Or
Yes,
March
can be
8th?
done, yes.
Okay. Because we've got still half our agenda here. Blue Dot update? Is it ready yet?
Blue Dot is mostly ready, so they're the only thing that they're waiting on is we've signed is the payment function on the back end. All the things have been signed, and it's just a matter of the credit card processor needs to activate it on there. So we would expect to launch. And figure what date we're on. End of next week into the following week right after.
So like the first week of March?
Yeah, so you're all gonna get, the businesses are going to get their letter/email and an email from us about. You're not delinquent on your business license, because we have many people ask, you know, where's my renewal letter, you know, and all that kind of stuff, and. That's fine, I'm glad they're asking, I'm glad they wanna pay for their business license, but that they're not delinquent and we're moving to a new system. And then there'll be another communication of what how to operate that system, so both. An instructional video, so people can watch how do you go into that system and type in your business license information, correct your information that may have been pulled out of Google or such like that, so.
Awesome, sounds great.
So now what is not gonna launch in that immediate is those QR codes, and I know we're in a lot of meeting here, but we need some guidance, and I think we talked about this in Crossroads yesterday at the Crossroads, but where do we want those maps to open? What do those QR codes do, right? In my mind, I'll use Old Webster's, and Stacy's right here, the QR code that goes to Old Webster is probably gonna open to Old Webster, but does it open to everyone? Is it professional services? In my mind, it's probably retail and restaurants, right? I mean, that's where most people are going, but is that true? I mean, that's just Eric Peterson's envisioning, right? I mean, is that what you all think we should do if we're gonna invest in those collaterals and those kind of things? Because once we print the QR codes, it's gonna be set for, you know, the map will look, people can change it, but it's gonna be tough for us to change it on the
The
backside.
specific QR codes for each area.
Well, and do we have them? I mean, those are questions that we're asking, so.
Is it possible to do a you are here
Yeah,
QR code?
Sure,
That's what I would do.
yeah.
Yeah.
but again, what shows up in the map?
That's what I'm saying,
Nothing.
like
You
you are
select
where
it.
you're at. Like wherever they scan the QR code is where it would land. Is it able to do that?
It's able to do that, so you don't want any businesses to pop up there.
You do want business.
Well, yeah, you want them to pop up, but with, like, you wouldn't see like a
I'm-
map.
So
of
people
you are
that come
here.
to us, I mean, we
Yeah.
don't serve full lunches or dinners, things
Yeah.
like that, you're gonna want it to pop up. Old Webster and Old Orchard.
Yeah, but each individual business can't have their own QR.
No.
Well, they can if they can, if they print their own, yeah, so.
Well, can it just be a map of
That's what I'm
Webster?
saying,
And
but it
so
can-
it puts it
Where's it
where you are?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right,
Like you're
yes.
saying, do you wanna like? include
What do you want to
insurance,
pop up? Like big, bold? Would it be restaurants?
Oh,
retail.
Yeah, you remember
Yeah, I
the,
think so.
the first time you brought it up, the entire thing was nothing but red dots, you couldn't see anything.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But what if?
I thought there was an opt-in though, like where people would need to opt in or
Well, the
out.
businesses can opt in or out, yes.
We
What
got,
I'm, what I'm talking about is as a consumer of the map. That's fine if you want you are here, right? So it's a little blue dot and there you are. Do you want, no, businesses you can find, you can go and search through them to find the businesses, or do you want businesses to pop up? Right? What is as a consumer, put yourself in the consumer's shoes, I'm scanning this, what do I want to know when I open that map up? Do I
Most
want it?
likely retail and restaurant.
Yeah.
That's what I would-
Why would you scan it?
And so
Me too.
do we pop that up?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm asking. I don't want to make that decision. This is all part of the year.
I do feel like this is a real discussion though, that,
Yeah, because then it's like,
should we
what about all the
scheduling?
services and
Right.
stuff?
Right.
Yeah,
Don't-
we-
Let's schedule a meeting for this, because this is a pretty big.
We're gonna launch Blue Dot. This piece doesn't have to roll up on March 1, right? I mean,
Okay.
that,
Yeah, so
but
can
yes,
can we make that a focus of the next meeting?
absolutely.
Okay.
Or you can have a subcommittee, whatever you guys want to do. So I'm just saying, if you don't make a decision, ultimately it's Eric and Marie and Pam are gonna sit down and, we're putting on QR codes, so.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
yeah.
Okay, great. For new business, Webster-wide events was something that was brought up by a lot of people at the coffee. I think that we can try to look at we're interested in this STL made thing and like trying to come up with ideas where we can pull together and loop them in, down the road.
Do you want me to define with it, people, they bring it up in terms of events that the city's running, is it like the business bingo, or were they talking about how to coordinate, what do they
Well,
mean?
so, and because
Mhm.
we've decided as a commission, we do not want to be in the business of producing events.
Right.
However, there's people, and I think it was even brought up by Tim at the November meeting or something, the idea of how to get something like what Old Webster does.
Mhm.
For example, ladies night out or something, or, but for all of the businesses in Webster. And so how do we do that since there's not an all-inclusive commissioner board or advisory group? And not involve the BDC? Or how does that start? How does that dialogue happen when we don't already have an existing link between everyone? So that was part of the questions at the coffee.
That'd be Blue Dot though, maybe, right? In the end. Like check Blue Dot for like a newsletter.
Well, it's more about how do we do something, like, we're gonna do an open house, let's say it's spring open house weekend in
Okay.
Webster Groves. And you want all the retailers and restaurants to know about it. How do we organize that, communicate it, come together, the effort,
Here's the thing, how does Webster Groves pull off a restaurant,
right?
right? How do you do a
Taste of
restaurant
Webster
week,
Groves.
right? How do you do that, because you don't have an entity other than us, at the city, and it's not
Right.
our strength to say, let's pull that together. And so who does the work,
Blue Dot.
I do have a
Blue
question.
Dot doesn't do that work, so.
Can this also, is there any way for us to, is a position at the city at all fall under Sid?
The position under Sid falls under Sid.
I mean.
Sid is a separate.
But
entity.
can we have an event planner that pays for, or
If
that's
this
paid
is
for by
Sid-
Sid?
Yes, but it reports to the Sid.
Because it's
It was
separate.
totally
Yeah,
separate,
it's
yeah.
Sid's way,
So,
yeah.
yeah, so, but yes, you can, and this is the,
Yeah.
in fact, that's what most SIDs have, they have an executive director. They
Yeah.
oftentimes have staff, depends on how much revenue they're taking in, how big they are, and what their
Yeah.
scope is.
Yeah, how does speaking of a restaurant week, like how would who runs Clayton's restaurant week or some of these other ones? The city does?
Well, no, I
I'm
don't
just
know.
curious,
I-
it's
that's
like,
a good-
a good question, I'm like,
I
do they have a
don't know
restaurant
if it's the city.
association, like internally?
They've got a classic business district, but I don't
Yep.
know if that's running it, or if it's a
Trade
restaurant,
association.
trade association, or just simply restaurateurs
Sure.
that say, we're gonna create this, right? I mean, oftentimes that's what happens, right? I mean, it's the theory of why do bars and restaurants all show up in the same district, right? I mean, the same area, you,
Yeah.
illusion of things, so, sometimes they just organic and it pops up.
Okay, so, we can push this off to the next meeting then along with the Blue Dot. And maybe have some ideas and some examples of how other places are doing it.
Or we could talk about at the meeting how the BDC could support if business owners did it on their own, what the BDC could add.
Right, yeah. Okay, super fast, do we have any business district updates?
Tim, anything, Roll Webster?
No, what do we go over? I had to leave early, but, no, it was just, we did not have a, meeting in, January, so it's just kind of, catch up on a lot of things. Stacy, you're raising your hand.
We added a new event for our district.
The commission's talking about the commission.
Oh, the commission. Sorry, well, we would go to the commission to get funding for it, so they're together.
Doesn't sound like it.
Yeah, that's
does it?
Yeah.
Not yet, though.
Alright, Crossroads ice cream shop's opening in the next month or two, and there's some vacancies, so we're still looking for. I personally want retail or a restaurant next to it, but some open spots, if anybody knows anybody, spread the word.
From Old Orchard briefly, obviously Weber's is closing. You're gonna see, as we talk about businesses, there's a lot of in business district migration going on. Businesses moving within the business districts to new locations, really not landlord issues, but simply finding different rents or such or different needs in their physical space. So
Our toy shop, the Little, is moving to Old Orchard. The Mark is closing. Mark,
Yes, yeah. Okay, cool, any city updates?
I have two. Prop W education is kind of getting underway. Staff and the mayor are attending meetings, little educational things. If you know of a group that would like to hear about Prop W, this would be a good thing for you to ask someone to show up for that. That would be, because there's so many different initiatives inside, wrapped inside the bond. There are signs downstairs that you're all welcome to take and post, and there's a QR code there that explains a little bit more. We also have some print graphics.
Great.
And I'm not sure how those are
those are
obtained.
at the Parks and Recreation right now.
Okay.
There's a bunch being reprinted, but they're much like the board sitting downstairs in the lobby, so.
So for instance, I know March 6th, I'm gonna go attend as in the audience. Hockey, those interested in hockey and the ice rink, the hockey organizations are gonna be meeting, and I think Dr. Peoples and Mayor Arnold will be there to talk about that. So if you've got like an interest group that would like to learn, even, I think it could be a big neighborhood if you wanted,
Exactly.
yes. So that is underway, and then I wanted to mention the Sustainability Commission is officially kicking off the solar grant or solar rebate program with an open house on March 3rd. It's a Sunday from 1 to 3 in the Olive and Oak Atrium. And so Amarin will be there. We're gonna have a company called Straight Up Solar, who does installations, will be there, as well as a couple residents, including Councilmember Smith, who have solar, and they will be talking about that.
What's the date on that?
Sunday, March 3rd. And so this is all kind of to help people get a kickstart, if they're interested in solar. Going through the process of installing solar at their home, and then ultimately at the end, if you're a resident of Webster Groves, you can have a $500 grant. Rebate for that. So, and coupled with the Ameren and the federal rebates that you can get, you know, you can, really get a good chunk of that transition. Paid for by other people.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know, as I understand it, it benefits immensely. I know I've heard from, you know, hundreds of dollars in power bills down to less than $10 a month. So, you know, there's like very efficient way to get going. And this is all money from the ARPA fund, just as you all have the grant money here. They've been using that to do the solar.
Are the Green Dining Alliance grants up yet?
The grant application is going to be up. As I think we heard from Sean, the Green Dining Alliance staff member moved on, so there's not anyone to do the certification, which is required to issue the grant. So with that we've paused that, but I think they've hired a person, so we've decided to start next Monday, the grant application will open. So we can start taking the applications and stockpiling them for that.
That's all I have.
So our next meeting is set for March 28th. Was there any questions before we close up?
Stephanie, you've been down there, are you all good? All right.
Motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
Yay? Yay!
Yeah.
Any opposed?
All right. Thanks all.
That was a lot.
Bye, guys.
Right?